When Admiral Akbar asks his wife what's wrong, and she says nothing or I'm fine, we all know that it's a trap. Seriously though, one of the toughest parts of every relationship is communication. Every individual has desires and needs that deserve to be addressed, and when partners have trouble communicating those, things can get difficult. But it doesn't have to be. Talking with your partner on this episode of Three-Dimensional Dads.
Three friends, all geeks, exploring every dimension of being a dad.
I'm Jay.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Ian.
And we are married men that have spouses, and sometimes we're not the best communicators. Am I right, guys?
My name is Derek, and I'm an engineer, and I'm introverted, and I don't communicate very well. And I try to fix problems. That's my problem.
Yes, but a screwdriver and a blowtorch aren't going to fix the ones we're, trying to fix here. No, it's hard. It's hard being married. It's hard having a spouse. It's hard having a partner.
Did you know when your wife says, I'm tired, and you suggest them going to sleep, that's not what they want you to say to them?
No.
That's a trap.
It's a trap.
That should be the name of this episode. It's a trap.
Also, here's another trap. You can ask someone if they're angry, and they might not be angry. But if you keep asking them if they're angry, you can make them angry.
Yes, it's true. That's true. There are a lot of jokes we can make with this topic, but in all actuality, it is a serious topic on how to communicate with your spouse. It's so serious, in fact, that, here, breaking the fourth wall, I guess, we're Deadpooling it. Two of us do couples therapy. It's a very healthy thing. It's definitely helped my relationship with my wife and Derek.
Yes. Not only do I go to couples therapy, I also go to individual therapy.
Yes.
Fun fact.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try that BetterHelp thing for myself. But right now, just the couples therapy. And you know what? It's a really good thing. And there are some challenges to it. It can be challenging because you got to open up, you got to communicate. For me, it's difficult because I went to college for psychology, so I kind of am in this zone where I'm always self-analyzing and I'm analyzing everything and I'm looking at behavior. And, for me, therapy is about, trying to fix Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like my physiological needs are all set. My safety needs are all set. But now here's love and belonging. And that can be really tough.
It's just like you, Jay, bringing up Maslow
Right.
whenever things get tough.
You just like pyramids.
I do like
all
pyramids.
I don't know, Indiana Jones,
Yep.
pyramids, we just got to keep it real.
Ooh, and speaking of triangle-shaped things like the Paramount logo, that's my transition. So I was watching these videos on TikTok and I would show them to my wife. I'd save them, and it was this show called Couples Therapy. And so we'd watch them with each other, and we'd talk there's just really these conundrums where husbands and wives get into these problems where they're both right, but they're both wrong. And so these clips were so interesting that it made us sign up for a month-long subscription to Paramount Plus, which I do not need another streaming service.
No.
But I want to figure out what happened to these people. It's they were both. How do you solve that problem? We love just seeing these tough communication problems.
So can I just really quickly ask you the premise of the show? It's couples that are having difficulties. Not only are they in therapy, which is great, but they're airing it on television.
Yes, and the therapist goes to a therapist. And it's all real stories, real people, and it's tough. I mean, especially when it's so real that you're just oh, man, how do you save that? How do you, work with somebody like that? And it's hard to communicate with some people. Not everybody's open, and sometimes I think they're always right. And I love watching the therapist do their job. I think that's amazing, too. Seeing behind the curtain a little bit that getting out of your own way. There could be someone who's just kind of a jerk and is triggering the therapist, too.
Oh, yeah.
But how does she keep herself out of it? So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
And I thought that it'd be cool for, an episode.
Yeah. So disclosure, my wife is a therapist too. She's an individual therapist, not a couples therapist, but it can be very hard to get through to some people. And there's absolutely challenges with it. I mean, depending on the mental state from people, et cetera. Right. But yeah, I think one thing that is important is you can try, I guess, to force people to go to couples therapy, right? But you have to be willing to do the work. And I think that's a really important part that, I think Jay and I are both going to, couples counseling with our spouses, and we're there to, the goal is to improve our relationships, and that's why we want to be there. And I think that's part of being supportive, and that's also part of trying to grow a healthy relationship.
It's true.
Yeah,
we don't go to couples relationship therapy with each other.
No.
No. Our communication's fine, I think.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
I'm a little self-conscious.
And Derek, how does that make you feel when Jay says that?
I feel that we could spend some more quality time together, Jay.
Ooh, we're doing it. We're doing.
Well, speaking of quality time, my big helper book for this, and I actually dug it out of the old library here. Boom.
Ooh, a physical
book. This actually exists. It's called The 5 Love Languages, and it's by a guy named Gary Chapman. He's brilliant. He basically said, look, you boil things down to 5 different types of communication styles or love languages. There's words of affirmation. They're all pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go into huge detail. Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical contact. Now, it seems simple, but it isn't, right? Your love language might not match up with your partner's love language, and that can be difficult. And that's where the communication issue comes in. And that's where like therapy has kind of helped, understanding each other's love language. Because if you think about like someone, let's say Spanish, for instance, you've heard a little bit of Spanish before, you can kind of get some words, but you really can't understand the full context of the language. And that's kind of, again, what counseling has done and what reading the book and, like you said, Derek, doing the work. That's really what's helped. My love language is words of affirmation. I need to hear confirmation that I'm good and doing good things. My wife's love language, physical contact. And, with a little bit of quality time mixed in there. And we've had our fits and starts with talking to each other the right way, right? Talking to each other, but we're getting better with it. And really the book, Chapman's kind of thesis about these love languages has certainly helped a lot. So that's one of the tools that I use in order to, improve my communication with my spouse.
Yeah, that book is really famous. And it's also the basis for a lot of other things like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and things. A tool that my spouse and I use, my wife and I use, is something actually, it's related to that. It kind of goes a little bit beneath the surface of, like, say, for instance, if your love language is a particular thing like physical touch, or if it is, like you said, quality time, it's, well, why is that? Like, what is the underlying reason why that would be your love language? And this is actually called attachment style. And you can look it up online, the different styles of relationship attachments. Basically, attachment style is formed out of childhood. And it really has a lot to do with how you were brought up or how you felt secure in the relationship with your parents or your guardians growing up. And there's basically 4 different attachment styles. One is anxious, one is avoidant, one is disorganized, and the other is secure. So with anxious attachment, it's also kind of referred to as preoccupied. You could deeply be fearing abandonment, meaning that maybe your caregiver wasn't there for you all the time. So in a relationship, you could be quick to be turning on your partner, or you could be very emotional, for instance. Avoidant is also referred as dismissive, and that usually could be somebody that's very independent, that doesn't want to depend on others. Maybe they didn't have guardians there, or they didn't have parents that were, constantly there giving them guidance, so they had to basically fend for themselves, and they don't want to seek to depend on others or seek the approval of, other social bonds. Disorganized is also kind of for like fearful and avoidant. It's kind of a mix of both things where you want intimacy and closeness, but you have real big problems with trust and depending on others. And secure, of course, would be like the bottom of the pyramid that everybody wants. It's you are trusting to your partner. You are secure in who you are and in your partners. You can rely upon them and they can rely upon you. And that's kind of like what the goal attachment style would be in a relationship.
So there's something I'm seeing there, right? Like anxious, avoidant, and disorganized are all not only things that are difficult for couples, right? But it's also self, right?
Yes.
It's problems that affect self. So like, the definition of anxiety is the fear of things that haven't happened yet.
Right.
Right. Or being avoidant means not being able to face your feelings and getting in touch. And disorganized obviously is not being able to form structures to get to it. And this is one of those things, I think, where that individual therapy piece and the couples counseling kind of comes together, right? Because you gotta work on yourself too before you can have success with your partner. Right? Like love yourself first before you love someone else. if you're having one of those attachment styles that's not quite, on the ball, if you're anxious or if you're avoidant or disorganized, I mean, that's really that you got to do a lot of self work too.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
So then I heard about this one called 5 Levels of Communication by this guy named John Powell. And I thought they were interesting as parents. We're talking like, marriage and couples and things. But there are these kind of 5 levels of communication. The first one's cliches and surface that are just kind of like very surface level stuff, non-sharing stuff. The second level is facts. So the sharing what you know, which I think is where we get stuck a lot as parents, is like, this person needs to be here at this time. The dog has been fed. The things have been, the trash has been taken out. I feel like get stuck there a lot. And so then there's this next level down, a little deeper, is opinions, sharing what you actually think about things. The next level down even further is feelings, sharing, how you feel about something, your own internal self. And then the last is needs. And I've also heard that being like kind of dreams as well, who you are, kind of the full transparency and intimacy, which I think, just like with what you were saying, Derek, that's where you want to get to, is like having those deep conversations about what you actually really need. And and I think that there are all these kind of traps there, is that as parents, it's so easy to get stuck. Every day you have an hour. It's like we get home, we're doing dinner. It's hard to have time to talk about these kind of things and to get deeper. It's out of place if you're not taking the time to get there. You can't just be like, hey, here are my dreams. It's like, okay, I'm cooking dinner and the dog needs to go out. It's like, I feel like it's very easy to get caught there.
This sounds very familiar. I mean, this is kind of a struggle that we have ongoing, right? You have the half hour or the hour before bedtime, right? Sometimes I feel like, you could be passengers in the night, or the cat threw up, right? And, somebody needs to be shuttled someplace, right? So you're just talking about what's going to happen this week. Like you said, talk about facts. Where do you have making the time to have those deeper connections is really difficult sometimes.
Right. Maybe a date night, having time to sit down and actually have be a romantic couple and not just parents all the time with kids. Watching a Netflix show, chatting about stuff. I mentioned watching couples therapy with my wife. We get to talk about feelings and like, oh, how do I feel about that? Actually, I think you relate to your own life as you're watching that.
You get this weird inverse kind of math problem here where like as time goes on, your ability to communicate kind of can go down. Right? It's like Barney from How I Met Your Mother, like the hot girl paradox, where like the hotter a girl is, the crazier she gets. I don't believe in that. That's from a show. I'm making a parallel, everyone. But it is the same thing. The longer you're married, and I think the longer you're a parent, maybe the more kids you have, it's this inverse connection between your ability and the time constraints versus your ability to communicate. And I almost think like these 3 things, the love languages, the attachment, and these levels of communication, it's almost like Voltron, right? Like you have these robots that are separate.
Our power combined.
I really hope that people get that reference. Hopefully our key demographic does, but you get this Voltron, right? And it comes together. And if you can work with kind of these 3 tools, or maybe whatever tools work for you and your spouse, there you go, right? It kind of can come together and you can do the work. Nothing's going to be perfect. We're not gonna solve your problems, people out there in the podcast universe.
We can't solve our own.
We can barely solve our own problems. I can't figure out how to make my pool chlorinated the right way. It's like now I have to fix everyone's problems in the world. Oy vey.
If you have a tip for how to get Jay's pool chlorinated,
please
email us at 3dimensionaldads@gmail.com.
It is a sand filter with a saltwater chlorinator. So yeah.
I think it's also worth talking about like your kids with some of these communication styles. I know that we're focused on couples a lot, but like with the 5 levels of communication, I know when I pick my daughter up in the car, I say like, how was school? Good. What did you do? Art class. Like I get facts. And then suddenly when they're like, it's time to go to bed, I've sung my 3 songs for them. I'm closing the door. Then I get the feeling suddenly. Then like level 4, you get like, they start giving me all this stuff. I'm like, where was this when we were on the drive home? I had time. It's bedtime and the gears are turning. I know. So I think that's kind of fun too as a parent to see these communication styles.
I'm driving the car. We're going to the supermarket. and all of a sudden, Dad, where do people go when they die? Like, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make a left turn and go into the parking lot, and I'm thinking about, how much deli chicken do I need? And all of a sudden, I have to like go to these deep feelings about. It's hard. Like kids really throw a curveball into everything. Like your spouse
Yes.
can be predictable. If you have kids, totally unpredictable, right? It's like trying to tackle a Tasmanian devil on PCP. It's like you just can't handle it.
My 5-year-old, again, we were driving somewhere mundane and asked me, like, were you sad when your dad died? And I'm like, whoa. I was ready for soccer practice. I'm thinking that we're 5 minutes, like my brain is not in this gear. It's like, yes, actually, very sad. Thank you for
Still on the field.
That was a tough one.
You're in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner. Dad, where do babies come from? Pass the gravy. It's very inappropriate times, but okay.
I think, too, when you have multiple kids, you're trying to teach them how to communicate with each other. And so that's another thing that I feel like I've been in the middle of, is like the girls having conflicts, having arguments. And so, there's this position to get put in of like, am I the ref? Or do I just make them work it out themselves? Because like sometimes that happens. I mean, they go for the jugular, so I feel like they need a ref sometimes. Because it's not like the things I'm hearing. I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna be your friend again. Like, okay, hold on, we're not gonna say that stuff, but they need to learn how to work it out. Like having those skills of communicating how you feel and what they did. I have 2 little girls. One is 5, one's 7, and so they're both talking now. Because there was a time when there was a toddler, like a non-speaker, and someone who could talk. And they still needed to communicate all the time. And so they have to learn this. And I feel like it's really a big bonus that they get to learn how to communicate and how to talk with each other and develop those skills.
And I will say this too, just in regard to learning how to communicate. I think one of the most benefits I've had for my professional career is having children and learning how to communicate with children, because those lessons are also applicable to the workplace. And how you have empathy with people and how you handle certain situations. And it's so true. And I think we're going to dive more on communicating with kids. We're going to have an episode that's going to be coming about, we're going to be talking about Inside Out 2 and Inside Out 1, about emotions and feelings. So they were going to dive into that a little bit, kind of further down the road for all the parents out there and things.
I just love the fact that I work with teenagers, and I'm getting like such a great preview of what my daughter is going to be like maybe when she grows up, both for better or worse, man.
Yes.
And I tell you, I have some of my students actually listen to this podcast. They think it's awesome. I played a little audio clip of one of my kids singing our praises and how they love the podcast. But I tell you, I've learned so much from the kids in my classes about how to communicate amongst groups. Right. Because it's not just high school. It's not just teenagers. Right. When you put people together, and it's hard for, I think, Derek and we have one kid. Right. So our kids don't have siblings to communicate with. It's just outside of it. But seeing how kids communicate with each other, I can take those lessons back, to Leora eventually. She's 7 right now.
Do you also learn terms like Riz and mewing?
Yes,
Sorry.
Riz, mewing.
There we go. What are the cool ones these days?
I did get I posted it on our Instagram and stuff. I got one of those sorry for yapping cakes, which was a fabulous thing. And that cake did not make it to the end of the day. Lots of kids ate that cake. But I would say, kind of to wrap things up, right? Like if we were to take one thing away from learning about communication from wherever we get those lessons, right? I feel that the best lesson for me is using I statements, right? Because not only are my feelings valid, but my partner and my spouse and my kid and my teenagers that I have in class, their feelings are valid too, and they deserve to be heard. And when you use I statements, I feel that statement is wrong, and it doesn't address the issue. Okay, great. That's your feeling. Let's talk about that. I feel that this person did not do their work in the group project. Well, let's look at the evidence and let's work it out. But when you say I statements and you're being genuine and sincere, that's valid and that really deserves to be heard. So use your I statements, everyone.
I guess something that I'll take away, and, going back to me being an engineer, right, and trying to fix problems, is by doing that, making sure not doing the opposite of what you're talking about, invalidating people. And how you use language is very important. If you use but, or if you use however, you're just basically invalidating what somebody was saying. So instead of trying to solve people's problems, actually being empathetic and listening and asking them questions about it, just saying you're sorry for them and not trying to solve their problems, because a lot of people just want to be listened to. And a lot of people want to know that you'll empathize with them. So to me, I think it's almost more like listening is a very important part, rather, and the language that you use to make sure that that person knows and you're communicating that you are there for them.
I like that.
Thank you.
And and then my tip was one that we've had this chat before as friends, is do you go to bed angry or do you sleep on it? When you're having a conflict, you're having something. And I know, conflict also, it's very important for your kids to see you talk with your spouse in front of them, to witness that, you will have conflicts, you will have arguments. It can't always be you agree on everything always. And having your kids see that and see you come to a resolution and work through and to use these things, I think is invaluable for them to be a witness to this kind of communication so that they can learn these things. But then there's that, when you have a conflict that goes to that next level, I can't go to bed angry. I will always turn it around. That's like a me thing, is I'll be like, we can always shift gears. There's nothing more important than us as people and our marriage and all that stuff. No problem that pops up is bigger than that. But I know, that's not always the way. Sometimes letting people cool down a bit and sleep on it, I've heard that too. I have a really hard time with that.
Sometimes you just need the big timeout.
Yep.
Right? The old Zach Morris, if people get that reference too, right? Sometimes you just got to stop and you got to let things breathe. And then hopefully you come back with a new perspective. Communicating with your spouse can be challenging, but that just tells us how important it is to work at it. Learning about communication can really benefit all aspects of our lives.
Did we communicate this episode clearly to you? Are you in a relationship where communicating is an issue? Drop us a line at our Instagram and TikTok, or email us at 3dimensionaldads@gmail.com.
Join us next time where we talk about our kids and their emotions. As parents, we're constantly trying to help our kids manage their emotions, which is hard. But thank goodness for Pixar and the movie Inside Out. We'll talk about what we've learned from these films and how they've helped us better understand our children on the next 3-Dimensional Dads.
Fatherhood in the Next Dimension.